gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to show you how to solo Pax Viking. This is the most recent Pax game from Ion Games, designed by Jan Manker, and the solo mode works very, very differently from the multiplayer game. So in this video, I'm going to be describing the setup, describing the rules, and just playing a couple of sample turns so you can see how it works and what to do. So let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, the solo rules and setup are actually found in the appendix. They are not in the main rulebook. So when you open your copy of this game and you're looking for how to solo, go to the appendix. However, the solo rules are very tapered down in this book. You need to understand how to play the multiplayer game in order to understand the solo rules. So I recommend before you do anything, go watch the Heavy Cardboard playthrough. They have a good 3-player game that they published a while back, and read the multiplayer rulebook. Then come here in order to learn solo. So that's the process that I personally followed, except that I didn't watch my own video, and hopefully that'll work for you as well. All right, so now we're gonna go through solo setup. It is different from multiplayer setup, which is why I think it's important to actually have a setup segment in this video. First, you're gonna lay out the game board. Got that done. Then you're gonna place an ally longship in each post in the north, leaving one post in Bjarmaland unoccupied. So what we mean by the north is that this board is separated into what are called winds. So we have this blue north wind, the green east wind, this orange south wind, and then the purple west wind. So there are things in the purple area that look like they're more north than the north wind area, but it is what it is. Blue is north. As for the allied ships, they play a different role in the multiplayer game, but they are the ones that are black, gray, and white. So all the black, gray, and white ships are the allied ships. So as you can see, I have put them in all of the posts, except that I've left one empty here in Bjarmaland. So the posts are all these circular areas on the board. Some of them, as you'll notice, have cards on them or are pre-printed on the board. Others are just empty circles. In terms of allied ship placement, just put them in the circles and let it be. Next, you're gonna place your influence markers and your trade markers. So those normally would go next to the board, but this board is huge and I'm trying to fit as much as I can on the table as possible. So I've just put it all right up here. So these influence markers are special action markers that you can pick up once you've put enough of your followers out on the board. We'll cover that in a moment. And then you also get some special trade markers depending on what cities you manage to establish on the board. And here's where things get interesting. So in the multiplayer game, you have a market row here, and we are going to have a market row for this game. However, it's not going to have all the same options that the multiplayer game has. Normally in a multiplayer game, you're going to have a market that can contain gods, advocates, events, and new ventures, all of which can be established out on the map. And anybody can purchase an event from the market to play it. However, in the solo version of the game, the events are going to be a separate timer and the deck that the AI essentially uses to function. So when you're setting up your market, you remove all of the events from the deck. So put all of the events separate, take them all out. You're also going to take all of the ventures out. Take all the venture cards out, they do something different as well. So your deck that's going to be your market is going to be entirely composed of gods, advocates, and nothing else. So this is a pile of gods and advocates. Let's go ahead and just fill the market now. So here we have a Vinland advocate. This is somebody who would go on your player board and give you some special abilities. The same thing for the gods. Here's a fine northern god that we could put on our player board as well. And as you can see, you can tell by color and symbol whether you're dealing with a god or an advocate. All right, so now our market is full. It is full of gods and advocates and nothing else because once again, in solo setup, that's how it's done. I also have a separate deck here. This is a deck of 12 event cards that I've pulled, and we're going to see just a couple in my sample play here. But you can create a larger or smaller deck of events. The events are what is going to drive, essentially, the AI for this game. So every turn you're going to draw an event, the AI is going to do it, your opponent's going to do it, and then you get your turn. So this is like our timer for the game. You have until you run out of events to try to establish all of your followers out on the board. And we're going to talk about what that means before we get started with play. The next thing you're going to do is place 9 random ventures out on the board, which I've also already done. So just for an example, as you can see, Trondelag is just printed on the board. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not a card. It doesn't come up. Same thing here for Birka. It's just permanently on the board. These are sort of pre-printed trade sensors and important allies who are there every time. Venture cards are these cards that actually move and can be placed out on the board. So what I did was I drew 9 of those and I put them in their appropriate spots across the board. So as you can see, we've got one here in Byzantium, we've got a Fatimid one, but we also have stuff here at the Volga, at Tsarskoye, at Pechenegs, at Vens, and at Svea. So one thing that is interesting is that you don't necessarily have 9 venture cards that make it out onto the map. For example, if I had drawn a 3rd venture card that was set here in Pechenegs, I would have just discarded it from the game and I would not have actually replaced that. So you draw 9 venture cards, you place them as possible, and then if there are any that you cannot place because, for example, a region might be full, they are discarded. So you have a limited set of ventures for you to visit and work with over the course of any game. When I talked to Jan Manker about it, he said that this was done to create variety, so that every time you play the solo mode, you'll have a different set of events that drive the AI, and you're also going to have different ventures for you to visit, fight over, and take resources from. So no 2 games are going to feel exactly the same. So officially step 6 is shuffle all the gods and advocates, make a saga pile, and then make a market row, but I've already done that, so we're set. And then after that, it's time to pick out your Jarl board. So in addition to this Giganto map, you also have your own personal player mat that is called your Jarl board. So as you can see, there are a whole bunch of different choices. There's Harold the Greycloak, you got Sigrid the Haughty, I like that name, works for me. Styrbjorn the Strong. And everybody has special abilities over here, and they all will have spaces for gods and advocates, which we're going to talk about a little bit more when I show you who we are playing for this game. But essentially, you have a whole lot of choices for who you might want to play, special powers and abilities that they might have. This game gives you no shortage of different characters to try. All right, so let's get a quick tour of the Yardboard, since this is the spot off the map that is all yours. And you definitely want to make sure you're taking good care of it. So I put Eric the Victorious into this game because he is the easiest one to play with. Frankly, if you want to start with the solo mode, that's who you play with, because his special ability is great. All of your people have different special abilities, but Eric says that 1 ship you control in a post counts as 2, which means that it's a lot easier to win tie breaks or avoid tie breaks altogether, actually, against the AI. And that's really key when you're trying to get all of your followers out in this game. You also have spots for gods and advocates on your player board. So this is actually a really important thing to talk about, especially in solo. So gods and advocates give you special powers. So for example, this North God, the one on the left, can give you extra money. The one on the right is an advocate with that gray border. He can help you with some of your journeys. And there's like an assortment of different things that advocates and gods can do for you. They also have little spots for followers on the cards. And this is actually one of the things that really matters about them. Typically, they won't go onto the board at all in a multiplayer game, but not only can they sometimes end up out on the player board in solo, but when they're on your Jarl board, they are a way for you to get followers out. And the way that you win the game is to get all of your followers established somewhere. The rules that are printed technically say on the map, but you can just count your Jarldom board as your Jarldom. It's part of your map, so you can actually also use these spaces to get followers out. And that's really crucial because not only do you have to make sure that you are taking advantage of special abilities, but you want to make sure that you can get some of the more difficult to establish followers out on your board, and you can even cycle through gods and advocates to look for the right combination of symbols to make it happen. So let's talk really quick about the different actions that you can take. So your actions are determined by action markers in the multiplayer game. However, in the solo game, they are determined by your 6 long ships. So you can do 6 things per turn, every turn. The main things you're going to do are journey, play, and activate. So invest and parlay right here, these are actions that you can take in the multiplayer game, like as actions with your action markers. In the solo game, they're built in. So before you start your main turn, you get to invest and purchase some sort of card from the market. When you end your turn, there's going to be an automatic parlay everywhere where you and your rival share space. So these automatically happen. You don't take them as their own actions. You do take journey, play, and activate. Journey is just move. You move your ship around the map, and I'm going to give you plenty of examples of that because it's what you do most of the time. You're a Viking after all. Play is play card. So a lot of these cards will have a requirement. They will at least have a location requirement. So in order to play this particular saga card, for example, you need to be in Vinland, and then you'll place a Jarldom follower on it. Some of these spaces on the board, which I'll be pointing out because they are a pain in the butt, cost a lot of money to establish as well. So there are sometimes prices you have to pay for the dominance that you seek in various places around the map. There's also activate. So if you've established a place and your ship is there, then you are actually able to perform the ability that is on that tile. So some of them give you money and some of them let you move rival ships around. Based on what is available on the map, there's some really cool stuff that you can do. There are also these special influence actions, and these only happen, so in the multiplayer game they happen when you have the most of any particular follower out on the map. So if you have the most Jarldom followers deployed, then you get the special Jarldom action. In solo, because that's not really a thing with the AI, you instead get it if you have 4 of a particular kind of follower out on the map. The Jarldom action is great because it lets you push rival ships out, very convenient for hostile takeovers. Theocracy is also actually pretty good for hostile takeovers because when you take that action, you're allowed to just establish a Theocracy follower in any old place, even if somebody else is already there. It's great. Then Sweden and Rus actions work pretty well together. So normally this would only be taking place with venture tiles, but in the solo game, there are times when you can, for example, take a Sweden action and end up putting a god or advocate on the board instead. Then you can use the Rus action to pick them up from the board. So basically what you're doing is you're cycling through that saga deck, especially if you're maybe looking for specific follower symbols that you want to deploy in order to win the game. So we're going to go through the full turn sequence now, but again, on any of your players that you have a special ability. It's much harder to play with not Eric the Victorious. Trust me, followers, long ships, and a little key to some of the actions you can do. Just make sure you're consulting the appendix when you play solo because things change up just a little bit. And then the last step is to mix up all the rival longships. So basically all player tokens that are colors other than the one you chose, I just put them in this dice bag. And then I randomly drew enough for every trade center, powerful ally, and venture out on the board, and you just put one random one down. That means that areas that have a rival longship will have double up rival ships on them, but it also means that every other coveted location on the map is going to have at least one enemy already there. Uh-oh. So this is a complete setup of the solo mode for Pax Viking. Let's go ahead and do a couple of sample turns to walk through the whole process. All right, so now let's start our sample turn. Every turn in the solo mode is going to have a very set sequence of play. The first one is rival movement. We're not going to have any rival movement in this particular turn because there's no reason for the rivals to move. However, there are going to be moments where you have pushed rival ships out of various locations, and then because they want to be in a post for the duration of any turn, at the beginning of the next turn, they are going to find their way to one of the posts that's here on the board. In other words, one of the circles. So if you've pushed somebody out into the region, out onto the sea, they're going to seek to move. So when you have rival movement, if any of your rival longships is outside of a post, then you move it to the nearest post that has longships of that same color. So for example, if I have pushed this fuchsia ship out into the ocean, let's just say that I did that, then it's going to want to move, because I'm here, to a post where there's another ship of its color. And if you are having to choose priority, then you're going to go for the southernmost one. So that means that we would basically come here to Pechenegs and start collecting a bunch of ships of that same color here. So it's just a way for ships to collect. You have very restricted movement on the map, but if you're doing rival movement and there's really just a color that's that far away, you move all the way across the map if you have to. If there are no rival longships of that same color, then you just move it to the nearest post that has any rival longships at all. So you just go like here. The only special rule about that is that these ally longships, so the ones that are black, gray, and white, never move into the west. So they're never going to go this way. They can only kind of push in this direction. And they also don't move into posts that have other ally longships. So these guys are never going to be together. They're always going to be separate. So you check for any needed rival movement. This time there is none. So what we're going to do next is the rival's going to take a turn. We're going to draw an event. So there's two things that you're going to do when you draw an event. We're not going to do it just yet. You're going to place a random rival longship from the bag in a post that is that event's location. And then the rival will establish that post if possible, and if it's not already established. Then you actually do the event. So let's see what we get. So this time we drew India. This is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. So what we're going to do is first we need to place a random rival longship in the post in that event's location. So we've just placed a longship here in India. Then we are going to establish that post if it is possible and not already established. It is in fact possible because nobody else is there and there is something there to establish. So we are going to get 2 rival color Yardboard followers and we're going to put them here on India. All right, so unfortunately we're about to establish India for the enemy. Oh no, that is terrible. Especially because we want to get as many followers out as possible. It'd be really nice to get a place like this and put 2 out on one spot. But right now, the bad guys got it. And we're not done because we have to play the India action. So it says to place 1 of your ships in India and gain 3 money. So your rival never actually gains money, it just goes to the bank. So we don't actually do anything with that, but we are going to put another ship that is not ours on India, which will make it even harder to reclaim in the future. So we'll draw again. And yet another ship goes on to India. Uh-oh. But that was the enemy's turn. We did it. This goes in the discard pile. And now it's going to be our turn for a little bit. So the first thing that we're going to do is invest. So invest basically means get a card for your hand. So I need something that I can get to and do something with, and also something that is cheap. So as you can see, there are prices next to everything on this track. So the very bottommost card is only worth 1. And that is some trouble for me because I don't really have a lot of money. I have 3 money. So we have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And if you look up at the actual saga pile, that says 0 because if you just want to take something and you don't really know what it's going to be, you can just get it for free. But in the multiplayer game, you can invest a whole bunch of times if you want to. You've got 4 actions, go for it. However, that's not actually how it works in this version of the game. In this version, you can invest 1 time. So we got to figure out what we want to buy. So let's think about it. So this is our home space. I just put a token of my color because this is the symbol. It was on my Yardboard, so that's how you find your home space. And so I'm really close to stuff that's in the north, and I can pretty easily get to things that are in the east. The south is not a great option at this exact moment. So let's have a look at what I could get for myself and establish in the near future. So I'm almost definitely gonna want something northern, and I definitely want something because I gotta do some stuff here. But according to Saga Tile Anatomy, which is page 8 of the main rulebook, by the way, not the appendix, we know that there are various types. So the only types that we could buy are gods or advocates. We need to care about location. So in order to play a Saga Tile, then you need to be in a post that's located in that location, and you have to be the only one there, which means that I won't be establishing anything that I bought this turn, because right now I'm stuck going into spots that have ships on them from my rivals. So I'm gonna have to kick them out, and that's a later part of this turn before I can actually establish any of my stuff. So I have to be very aware of that as I choose where to go and what to do. And then eventually every saga tile has a different follower icon on it. So for example, this one is played in the north anywhere and has a Yardboard follower, which is what I'd put on it to establish it. But I'll also need to be attentive to the types of followers that I'm putting out there because I can't just do all one kind. They all have to get out on the map before the end of the game. The other thing I need to think about just long term and not just getting cards is I need to establish in as many of these places as possible, which means that I need a plan to kick out these rival ships. I also need a plan to pay for establishments in some of these locations. So for example, if I wanted to establish here in Trondelag, then I would need to pay 7 money. I have 3 money right now and I am not rich. So I also need to figure out where I'm gonna go to make money. So how can I get myself just some abilities and advantages? How do I make money? There are 2 ways to make money in this game. One is to establish somewhere where you can activate and get money. So the actions on some of these venture posts will pay you. That's very good. The other way to get money is to get followers out. So at the end of the turn, I can get a coin for each type of follower that I have out on the map. So not number of followers total, but if I have a Yardboard follower and a Theocracy follower, then I'll get 2 money at the end of the turn. So I need to get stuff out to make money, to get abilities, and to make more money. So what am I gonna do? All right, so I do think I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and give up 2 of my money. Oh no, I'm down to 1 money, y'all, but I'm spending money to make money. I'm gonna pick up for 2 Freyr, this northern god. And the reason is that I think I can establish him this turn. And also because I get 2 money automatically at the beginning of each of my Winter Solstice parts of the turn. So he will just consistently give me money, which is something I desperately need. This buddy is coming home with me. We're definitely gonna worship this god. Let's do it. This will go into my hand for now, and I'll show you how to establish him hopefully later this turn. Okay, so now I get to take actions. I don't have to use the standard action markers, and I actually get to do more stuff per turn, which is pretty cool. So I had to exhaust each of my long ships to perform actions, and that gives me 6 actions per turn. So there's only 3 things that I can do. Like I was mentioning before, I'm able to journey, I am able to play, and I am able to activate. And I can do a combination of 6 things because I have 6 long ships here. So let's just leave Eric the Victorious here for a moment so we can go through all of that. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I can't spend to establish because I'm not in a post in the north where I can do that. So I need to get my rear end to an empty post in the north, which will allow me to do the establishment that I need to do. All right, so I think we should start with a journey, partially because we need to go places, partially because that's something that I want to make sure that I show you very well, because movement in this game looks a little bit crazy, but it's actually not too bad. So as you notice, this map has a lot of colors and it's got a lot of lines on it. And these are helping you figure out where you're allowed to move. So basically a white line is passable, but it counts as a move. So if you are in this part of the sea, you can take 1 of your 3 steps on a journey to come here. So this would be a step because you're crossing a white line. You also cannot just cross a black line. So all of these black lines are impassable. So you can't come from here and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna come here. You have to use one of the harbors that's jutting out into the water for that. Meanwhile, these white lines that surround these river regions basically mean that you can take your ship from the sea right into the land as if you just taken a river in. It's also a move to go from a region into a post or from a post out into the region that surrounds it. So we're gonna do plenty of demos. You will see exactly how it works, but those are the basic rules. White lines, you can cross it. Black lines, you can't. If there's a harbor, it means that you can't just go from the land to the sea. You have to do it through the harbor. But I think what we wanna do is, so if this is our home space, so we can just assume our ship is already here. We are gonna pop right into the sea for 1 move. We're gonna come into Bjarmaland, into this river region. So that's the 2nd step. And then the 3rd one, we're gonna come into this empty post. And the reason we're doing that is that on the next action, we're able to establish a god card on our Yardboard. So this ship is now exhausted. So I've just laid it flat to indicate that is the case. You can't do anything else for the rest of the turn, but good job, little ship. So I'm gonna temporarily move this ship so I can show you the next thing that I'm doing, which is I'm gonna exhaust this long ship right here. So it's not going anywhere, it's just hanging out on my Yardboard in order to establish my northern god, because guess what? Now I am alone in a post in the north, which means that I can do that. So I'm gonna put him down and then I'm going to put a Yardboard follower on him. For now, he's there and we're gonna get some money this turn because we have him. Fantastic. So I'm gonna move this down and we're just gonna put the other 4 ships on the board. We're gonna take a bunch of journey actions. So I don't have to do anything to activate my god. He just automatically does what he's gonna do at the Winter Solstice, as it says on his card. So I can't show you an activate action until I have actually established myself in one of these ventures, which might not happen anytime soon. I'm terrible at this. So we're gonna do a lot of journeying. Let's journey, everyone. And we're gonna put this back. All right, so I got some ships. I want them out here on the map. I'm just trying to figure out where the best place to put them is. So the problem is I really need to get followers out, period. But there's not very many super lucrative ventures out here either. So I need to decide what to do. I think I would like to come into the east and just take over some stuff, even though the activations aren't gonna do a whole lot for me just yet. So I'm going to maybe move a couple more boats here so that we can move into Pechenegs or into Tsarskoye on the next turn. I think I'm also going to send a couple of my long ships down into the south because there is some pretty good stuff here. So Miklagard is expensive, but we have in Byzantium, you know, I can get money for each of my southern followers. Here I could gain 2 and move a rival out of a spot, which is really, really nice. I kind of really want to come here to Fatimid to take that over. And then there's some more expensive stuff down here, but there are also these really nice, chunky, lot of follower spots. So I think what I'm going to do, and I have to decide how I want to do this, is I'm going to put 1 ship here, and let's do 1, 2, but we're not going to go into a post. We're going to go 3 right here into Tsarskoye and exhaust. And I'm going to do that again with another ship so that we're ready next turn when we unexhaust to come in here and really fight for some turf. With my remaining 2 ships, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and I'm going to, let's start moving around this way to come up in here. So we're going to go 1 into this water, 2, 3. So we're hanging out in the Atlantic Ocean, and my other ship is going to do the same thing. So I've got some ships coming down around this way, and I've got some ships coming over here into Tsarskoye. So those are all of my actions. I exhausted 1 ship to get a god onto my player board, and I'm exhausting all my other ships to make some progress and get some places, because that's what you got to do. So now we're entering into a stage called the Automatic Parlay, which isn't really going to happen this time, but I'm going to explain how it works. So if you're doing an Automatic Parlay, basically what that means is that normally you would actively shove other people out of your space, which is delightful. But there's an Automatic Parlay performed at the end of your turn on any post where you're not alone or where you are alone and can establish the post. So basically what that means is that if you're alone on a post by yourself, so any of these ones that has a card where you can actually like put out a follower and establish it, you just automatically get it at the end of your turn if you have managed to kick everybody out previously. If you're not alone, then whoever has the most long ships is going to be the one who establishes the post if it's not already established. So rivals will win ties. You have to beat your rival anywhere you go. If they beat you, then you just return your long ships to the board and you have to start journeying out again from your home space. If you have more long ships than they do, then you remove all of the long ships on that post from the game. Or if your rival had previously established a post, so like if I'm coming here, then I remove 1 of their ships from the game and just shove the other 2 out into the nearby region. And that's actually where the rival movement comes in at the beginning of the next round. So if I come down to India and shove some people out of their tariff, then that means that, you know, I'm going to end up with at least 1 ship moving here and this purple one going here and kind of creating a little bit of extra trouble for myself for my trouble. But that won't happen this turn. Now we're in what's called the Winter Solstice, and that is where we get money. Woo! Okay, so the way that you get money is you get 1 coin for each follower type you have out. So right now I only have 1 single little Jarlden follower, and he's hanging out on my god. However, the god also gives me 2 coins at the beginning of every Winter Solstice, so this is going to be a total of 3 coins for me this turn. So I actually did make money a little bit this time. So one thing I should do before our next turn is let's go ahead and move our Saga road down. Got a new card, a new god out there. And now we're going to start again. So do we have any rival movement? No, we actually do not. Hopefully I'll be able to show you something like that next turn, but it's actually pretty rare. Rival movement is not as common as you would think it is, given it's the first step in the turn. So next we're going to draw another event. So let's see what this jerk does to us this time. Our rival, oh no. Also, let's reactivate all of our ships to indicate they're ready to rock and roll all night long, sweet Susie. All right. So this is really unfortunate for us because we were headed kind of towards Damascus. This time what's going to happen is that the rival is going to establish here in Damascus. Boo. Oh, this stinks. Okay, so what's going to happen is first, we just do what we do every time. They're going to put down a ship, and they're going to establish, if possible, which is totally possible. I'm not there to be pushed out. So now they've got 2 theocracy followers hanging out in Damascus, and this is way unfortunate for me because I really need to get Damascus in order to win, because I need that double spot. So this is going to be some serious conflict down here. Yikes. Then we actually do the event, which says place 2 of your ships in Damascus. Oh my god. So we put 2 more ships here in Damascus. I just realized you couldn't see it. All right, so just to clarify, once again, we put 1 ship on Damascus for the event. We established Damascus, which was entirely allowed within the rules, and then we put 2 more ships on per the event card. So now our rival is super all over Damascus. This is real bad, because to get him out, we're gonna have to like get down here and actually like force out 4 ships from Damascus. This is not fun. Ooh, my goodness. Okay, so with that done, it's now our turn to do stuff. So that's at least good. We can invest. So let's see if there's a card that we want. All right, since I'm not gonna necessarily, I don't wanna spend all 4 of my money. I've already got a god. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this Vinland card and just put it in my hand. I'm not necessarily gonna play it yet, but I'm gonna spend my money on him. And I'm gonna maybe play him when it's time for me to start messing around up in the West Wind. Then, once again, I'm going to do a lot of journeying because, again, activation is really only for when you already control a spot or if you want to remove one of your advocates or gods from your Yardboard board. So I don't need to do any of those things yet. So let's move, baby. Okay, so what we're going to do, as you might have remembered, but probably not, which is why I'm going to remind you now, Eric the Victorious has a special ability. Basically, if I have 1 ship in an area, it counts as 2. I already know that at the end of this turn then, I'm going to be able to boot some of these rival ships from these areas where there's only 1 ship. So I'm going to move 1 ship in here, 1 ship in here, and then I'm going to go out into the region for 1, 2 into this next region, and let's do... This isn't really going to matter yet, but 3. Let's just go to Pechenegs and do this here. So we're basically just going to take over these areas this time. Normally I would need to get 2 ships there, but because I have Eric the Victorious, I do not. So I can just go be difficult at all these little easier pickings. I can't just come into places like Iberia and establish, however, because see that cost of 8 coins? That's not going to happen right now. Oh no. So we're going to instead move these ships along here. So this is actually like a little area where you can traverse the sea. So this is going to be 1. Let's do, this is all 1. La 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 la. And let's move here into Fatimid because I can do that. Yes, these are all exhausted, but it doesn't actually matter for the parlay part. So, oh well. And then let's do something maybe similar with this one. So we're already here, so we'll go 1. I don't want to just go in here for an automatic parlay and get booted because that's stupid. So we're going to go 2. And then I can't really do anything with this one yet, so we'll go 3 up the harbor. So these posts were both entered from sea regions. You can't actually come into them from the land. So that worked out okay. No problem. Thanks, Harbor. So we're going to have a massive turn this turn. It's just not going to do everything that we ever wanted, but I think that's okay. I think this will be a nice illustration of what we could do. And I actually still have 1 more ship. So this one, I'm just going to also send it out. So we're going to take a little journey. Let's do... I can't really afford any of this right now. So let's go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to take another shot at Pechenegs and finish taking over that post next time. I think that might be good because I'll have actually established some stuff, so that will maybe make me a little more extra money. So that one's also exhausted. Okay, so we've done all of our stuff. We journeyed a lot, and it made sense because we're Vikings. All right, so now that we've done all of our actions, we're gonna do Automatic Parlay. Woo! Okay, so this actually works out great for us. It normally wouldn't. So remember, with a normal ship, the rival is gonna win tiebreakers, but we're not tied because the special ability of Eric the Victorious is that any 1 ship that you control in a post counts as 2. So we're about to win all of these automatic parlays. Woohoo! Okay, so this is actually super good. So what's going to happen is we get to just remove these because they weren't established. They're just going to go back in the bag to come annoy us later. But I don't care about that. We win. All right, so now we've kicked everyone out. And now we're going to establish all of these posts that we're in, which is the bomb.com, not going to lie. Okay, so now we can put a Rus follower in Tsarskoye. We can put a Theocracy follower in Tsarskoye. We can put a Swede here in Pechenegs. We can put another Theocracy follower here in Fatimid. And here in Byzantium, not Byzantine, or we could put a Swede. And that's all we can do for now, but that's a monster turn, really, compared to what last turn was like, which wasn't very eventful. So now, as we go into our Winter Solstice, things are looking a lot nicer for us. So now, once again, you get a coin for each type of follower you have out on the map. So that's 4 coins, plus another 2 because of my god, whom I will worship forever. Yay! So I get 4 coins, and then another 2. I'm finally rich, everyone. Rich. And next turn, if I want to, I can actually take activation actions for some of these established posts, or I can just leave them and continue my journey to attempt to conquer the world. But that worked out really, really well. So now we're going to ready all of our longships for another turn. And we'll move this guy back down, so you don't have to just look at Eric all the time, although he was quite victorious this turn, indeed. All right, and then I think for a more thorough kind of display of this game, I actually want to do this one more time. I want to do one more round, especially because I think that I can show you a little bit more. So let's go ahead and have an event, because there's no need for rival movement. Nobody's out in the wilds right now, but I'm going to put someone out in the wilds so I can show you how it works next turn. All right, so the event is Miklegard. It says take 1 card from a rival's hand co-located in Bulgar. So this is set in Miklegard, so we need to put a ship out there and establish it if we can. Where is it? So we'd be here. Oh, that sucks, because they can establish it. No. Oh, that's so cruel. So like sometimes rivals just end up on posts in the middle of nowhere. Like you could just have somebody in Bertus who's never going to move and never going to do anything. And it's actually kind of great when that happens for you, but that's just not the way this game is going. Yikes. So let's go ahead and establish right here, Miklegard. I'm gonna have to do some serious battling to get these jerks out of here, but I actually do have a way to show you how to do that, so that's gonna be cool. All right, so it's my turn again. Oh wait, first they're gonna take one card from rival's hand co-located in Bulgar. We are not co-located, so nothing would happen. If I were there, they would just take my advocate card from my hand, but that's not gonna happen, so that's fine. Except that they got to establish. Boo. All right, so now it's my turn, and I'm actually not going to invest. Well, actually, I am going to invest, but I don't want any of these, so I'm not going to spend any money on investment. Instead, I'm just going to draw something random from the Saga pile for free. And so, not bad. I got a Theocracy advocate from Burka who can give me some money when somebody puts down a Theocracy follower. So, hey, not bad. So now I get to do stuff. And so actually one of the first things I'm going to do is instead of move the longship that's here in Fatimid, I'm going to basically activate here, which is really cool because now that I've established it, I can do the action here. And that means that I can gain 2 money. I like money. I've got a ton of it. And then I can move 1 south rival out of a post, which means that I can use this to start knocking ships out of the way. So I can push, for example, this, let's move this orange ship out of Fatimid. So now I can show you how rival movement's gonna work. Just it's the start of a following turn because I'll actually have a rival ship to move, but also this is how I'm gonna be able to get these guys out of here in enough time because getting all my ships down here was not feasible. Doing this is quite feasible. Yes. All right, so now let's do some movement, however. Okay, here's what I want to do. I have a lot of money. I want to spend it on establishing places because that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ship here that's here in Tsarskoye. We can do it with both of them actually and just kind of start moving down in here. That seems like a good idea to me. So let's go into the region, 1, into the region, 2, into the sea for 3. And then we're going to do that same 1, 2, 3 for this boat. So what we're doing is we're going to work on getting up here to take over Chang'an, and we're also going to come down to Persia and try to forcibly take that as well. Let's see, who else is there to go? We got our little buddies in Pechenegs. So these guys, so let's move this one in here. So we're just going to move right in there to take over that spot, get another follower out. And then let's go ahead and move this guy. 1, 2. So we're moving out here in hopes of maybe getting over here and making some trouble in Mikligard. So I think that those will be all of my moves. Everybody is exhausted. Well, this guy in Byzantine hasn't moved yet, has he? But we're just going to put them here. Actually, no. We're going to make money. We're going to activate this one too. So I can activate to gain 1 money for each of my south followers. So that's 2. I have 2 followers out in the south, so I can get 2 more money and be rich. Beautiful. And so now we're starting to cook with gas. So that was all of my turn. We would then go into the glory of, automatic parlay. So this ship gets gone. I take this place over and establish it. Wahaha. And then we're going to have a lovely winter solstice. So once again, that's going to be 4 coins because I got 1 of each kind of follower out plus 2 for my god for another 6 money. This whole bank is like my bank now. So now I can go establish stuff that I really wanted to. Oh, and because I did the kind of just take something for free off the top of the saga deck, this goddess will disappear. She'll go in discard. Everything will move down and we'll refresh. And now, not that we're going to actually play 1 more full turn, but before you pull the next event, you do rival movement. So this is how it works. You have this orange ship right here. They're just going to move to the closest orange ship, which just means a little move to Persia this time. So that's how that works. If you shove someone out of a post, then when it's time for rival movement, they're going to go to find some rivals to team up with against you. So those are a few sample turns of Pax Viking. I hope that it helped you figure out how to play it, whether it's for you. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and happy gaming.